Okay, we're going to have a look today and see what happened in the using of this particular mold. I love the mold. I love the end result. You first slump the glass onto the texture and then you slump it into a dish. Unfortunately, I was having a lot of problems with it. The first mold that I got, I was really excited. It came out of the kiln beautifully with one exception. The mold was defective. It was not flat. And so what happened is that it created, and on this surface you can't really see as much as you can on a hard surface, but it's lopsided. It did not fuse properly. The texture turned out fabulous, and the way that I did this one is I full fused 2 pieces of Tecta, Bullseye Tecta, and the spots are actually paint. They are glass line paint that I put on little dots. I loved the effect, and so I thought, okay, well, when the manufacturer graciously sent me a new mold that is not warped, I did it again. So that's what this one is. Unfortunately, I didn't like what I did. I put the glass line paint on thicker, and you can see how it's got bubbles that turned up in it, and I didn't like that effect. So I didn't slump it into the final dish. I just don't like it. Although my husband says I should just go ahead and slump it anyway and sell it at a discount. I might do that. But these bubbles that turned out here next to the paint, I put the paint on too thick, and I didn't like that. So then I decided that I would use the mold a third time, pretty much doing the same thing, but I went exactly with the directions that came with the mold. With these two, I full fused the 2 pieces of Tecta together first. With this one, I did as the directions said. I did not full fuse first. And as you can see, it is a horrendous mess. It is all bubbly. And on the back side, it's very, very, very sharp. These right here are incredibly sharp. So, contacted the manufacturer of the mold to try to see if I can figure out what was going on. She said she'd never seen this before. So I looked at it and I thought, okay, well, I think the problem might be that since there are no holes in the mold for air to escape, that I had cut the glass maybe too wide. And actually, it wasn't until this one that I came up with that conclusion that I cut it too wide and there wasn't enough room for air to escape along the edges. And that is what is creating these huge bubbles. And you can see how sharp that glass is on the back. It's very, very sharp. Why this end turned out well, I don't have a clue. Basically, this one, and this one were not pre-fused. This one I thought I would give it a try to see what the different types of glass, opaque versus transparent. And as you can see, this is a complete hole. The bubble broke. Bubble broke. This one is very smooth. I can put my finger here and I'm not getting cut. This is a completely softened bubble. So this happened way in the early process of the fusing. It's not sharp at all. So this one was cut much smaller than the other two, so I knew it was not because I cut the glass too wide. Still has the texture on the side, but it didn't go over the edge. That's still within the top of the mold. So I decided that because the first two came out fairly well. It doesn't have these horrific bubbles. Actually, I think this one's really pretty. It's not usable at all. Anyway, so I thought let's go back to what I did right the first time, and that was pre-fusing the two pieces of glass. And look what we have. Haha! I went back to the glass line paint. I put it on very thin, but I was doing this one on the cheap. So I only used the bottom layers. A full piece of Tecta on the top was just bits, pieces, cracked, chunks. And of course I don't like at all what it did with the glass line paints. They're not, but I did put them on much thinner, but I don't like the way that it came out at all. But my theory has proven. I have figured out what I need to do. Cannot use the directions that came with the mold. You cannot put two unfused pieces of glass on the mold and expect it to turn out. This is totally bizarre that this edge is fine right next to the largest bubble I have ever seen. This, if I tapped hard enough, would go through. These others are not. These are solid. These are full, solid, firm bubbles. That's pretty firm. These two are about as... if you pushed hard enough, you'd break them. These, you wouldn't break. This one, you can just hear it. That's ready to break. Right next to one that's very, very solid. It's just totally bizarre. So, I will be using this. Oh, and this actually broke. You can see a piece of just flick off. This one would definitely cut you and draw blood. So I will be using this mold again, the textured mold, and then it will be subsequently slumped into this plate so that we do end up with another one of these that is not warped because of the mold. I don't know if I can, yeah, you can kind of see. It doesn't stay flat. But anyway, there you have it. We have, after several tries, figured out what was going on. I don't know the reason. I have a suspicion that it's because air gets between the two pieces of glass and can't get out. Even though there is a bubble hold on here, it just didn't work. So, must pre-fuse before using this texture mold, or you're gonna get bubbles.